Hi, dear viewers, how are you? I am fine, despite being completely unable to make a non-crafting Skyrim character. This one, the Juggernaut, uses smithing and enchanting, and despite my best efforts, he needs double enchantments to achieve the required levels of awesomeness on legendary difficulty. I am sorry, I'm an idiot.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm an idiot.
Other than that, he is a warrior enhanced with magic, but he doesn't have the time, patience, or magicka to cast spells. He only uses 3 that can be triggered by Okato's recital from Apocalypse mod, which are all alteration spells enhancing power attacks or bashes. On top of which, he will also wield the Dawnguard rune hammer to place fire runes with bashes, and wear the Visage of Mzand to detonate those runes if needed and to soften the enemies as they approach. Then he also raises a ward which can absorb magicka when he blocks and has a chance to stagger all enemies around him when he is hit. All that comes on top of a fully armed and operational Vokrii heavy armor warrior, with the insane heavy armor perks sending people flying and staggering them, and most of the super useful two-handed perks, including the one that reduces armor rating of enemies, which can combine with an armor-reducing spell from Triumvirate and the immense durability of Aetherius mod Nords, who take 25% less damage when they are power attacking, which we stack with 30% reduction, coming from the Berserker perk branch in Vokrii. So he will be near unkillable, he will absorb spells, he will constantly interrupt and otherwise impede the attack power of his enemies, he will have 2 different tactical runes at his disposal. He will also never have enough attributes to pull off all his tricks effortlessly, so there is actually a learning curve to his combat style. Not my most OP character at all, not really. There are worse. His story and background sort of stems naturally from his choice of gear and powers. He is clearly a competent and cruel fighter, with little consideration for chivalry and honor and such. So likely a mercenary, a sellsword. He appreciates Dwarven gear, so he is a Nord from Markarth. He has dealt with many forsworn on behalf of the Jarl. As much as he would like to see all of them in whatever kind of hell they believe in, he noticed the usefulness of magic they use when dealing with them. But only after he learns about the marvels of Okato's recital spell can he put some effort into expanding his knowledge and skill in magic. He wants his hands on his heavy weapon at all times, no time for some weird gestures and such. And there's that, what did you expect? Go read a good book if you need a good story. We're here to mess with the bandits and the Draugr and dragons. Now, for the mods, we have Vokrii, Aetherius races, Evenstar, Standing Stones, Summermyst enchantments, and 3 spell mods, Apocalypse, Triumvirate, and most importantly, Advanced Alteration, responsible for the waves of energy we generate when block bashing, and for the perfectly balanced levitation rune we can place wherever we need with a power attack. A few things about the build are vanilla, but it will overall play very differently without these mods. You can possibly drop Aetherius if you want something else, but the rest of them all combine nicely with each other, creating a rather unique combat style. For the attributes, we want to reach 150 magicka at some point, preferably at the time we obtain all our spells, especially the augmented parry, which enhances your block bashes with a staggering shockwave. It is mighty useful, but unfortunately it costs 30 points of magicka each time you bash. At around 150, you should have enough to use the spell comfortably. The rest of your progress is pretty much an even spread of health and stamina. Unfortunately, with your heavy two-handed weapon and Breath of Mchunak, you will never have enough stamina. The main reason for using double enchantments with this character is this exact problem, so keep it in mind when customizing the build to your liking. One wonderful Summermyst enchantment allows you to power attack without stamina, albeit with reduced damage. We create runes and other cool effects with power attacks, so the damage reduction is not that painful for us altogether. The Standing Stone is Evenstar Atranak because it grants a 30% increase in spell effectiveness, which will stack with Amplified Destruction enchantment and affect the Breath of Chuak power, making it useful even on higher difficulties. But your magic regeneration will be stopped on full health, returning as your health is being reduced. This means you may sometimes happily accept some damage. Luckily, we will achieve the armor rating cap and reduce hell out of damage when blocking, so it will be rather easy to manage these mechanics. And for the race, we want the Nord from the Aetherius mod because the frost resistance is good for your stamina and the damage reduction on power attacks works brilliantly with the Bear Hide perk. So now you take almost no damage when blocking and much less damage when power attacking, and you can always power attack. This is all straight damage reduction independent from your armor rating, a very elegant, neat synergy if I may say so myself. And of course I may, because I'm a douche.
But I'm a douche with OCD.
Now for the skills and perks, we go for two-handed heavy, armor block, alteration, enchanting, smithing, and a tiny little bit of restoration and destruction. That's a lot, but I assure you, it all just works.
It's not, I'm not kidding.
In two-handed we need all the perks on the leftmost side, up to and including Bear Hide. The reasons for it have been mentioned already. Except Death or Glory can increase your weapon damage when below half health. With the Atronach Stone, below half health is also the only time when you regenerate magicka normally to use for augmented parry force waves. The two ranks of Crushing Blows are the only perk we need in the middle. It grants us the ability to reduce enemy armor by 200 points when attacking with hammers. This combines with the Stave of Ferocity spell we use with Okato's Recital. Stave of Ferocity reduces enemy armor by another 150 points when you power attack, so the total reduction on power attacks is 350. Also, 25% weakness to magic from that spell improves the damage dealt by Breath of Chuak. Then, from the power attack perks on the right, go up to and including Vicious Charge and War Master. War Master gives you a chance to paralyze an enemy with a forward power attack, and since you can power attack even with no stamina, you can have high hopes for the paralyzes to kick in each fight. And then in heavy armor we need most perks, the entire left hand branch to make enemies stagger and be flung away and lose stamina when they hit you. This is satisfying by itself, but with all the horrible and terrible things we can do to people when bashing and power attacking, it completes the combat style with a lot of satisfying crowd control on top of its rather impressive durability. On the right we aim for Tower of Strength to reduce the damage from power attacks and bashes. We now have the basic warrior combat style covered and need to get more selective in other skill trees. So in a block we want weapon block and quick reflexes, and then the bashing perks up to Dragon Tail with just one rank of deadly bash. You may also consider Block Runner. Technically with your durability you can definitely live without it, as you can take a lot of beating when blocking, no need for running and sprinting and all that, but it can be useful when you need to get the perfect angle with your augmented parry force waves or fire runes. Dragon Tail is as always a very decisive FU to enemy warriors, hurling them away and sometimes even disarming. It is particularly fun when after knocking an enemy to the ground you place a rune of levitation right next to them with a power attack, so they start being lifted up before they can stand. And then you detonate the levitation spell with augmented parry force wave, dealing extra damage and sending them to the ground yet again. Oh, I'm sorry. We want to reach the Atronach in Alteration. Magic resistance is a just-in-case thing, since we protect ourselves via Warlock's Ring Ward, and we can stun-lock the spellcasters with force waves. Nevertheless, the ward can break against stronger Warlocks, and sometimes you don't have the magicka for force waves. The first rank of Alter Self was used to increase stamina, because we always need more stamina, and the other rank increased the resistance to frost and shock. Atronach will give us 30% chance to absorb spells when the ward fails. Sadly, we have no means or a reason to combine it with any other spell absorption unless you keep buying the anniversary edition ingredients from the Catched Caravans and use some alchemy even with no perks in it. If around level 50 you still wanna play a bit more with this one, I strongly suggest going for Hetho's Escape. It paralyzes an enemy that would deal a killing blow to you, makes you even more indestructible. In Restoration we go for the Ward perks exclusively, both ranks of Vigilant Ward and Ward Absorb. Ward Absorb will be mighty helpful in offsetting your lack of magical regeneration. Vigilant Ward will make your ward reduce incoming damage by 60%, 25%. Since you always have a ward up when blocking, it will stack with 20% damage reduction when blocking from the Augmented Parry spell. This means both your armor rating and damage reduction will be pretty much at the effective cap whenever you block. In destruction we only need both ranks of Rune Master. Augmented Flames weren't worth it since we only use one fire spell, the Rune, and we will improve it with Amplify enchantments anyway, and its purpose is to weaken and not kill. In smithing we go for Arcane Blacksmith, Armor Padding and Dwarven Smithing. This is a roleplay decision since the character gets increasingly intrigued by Dwemercraft, and if you tell me it's not for roleplay, I'ma just stick my fingers in my ears and go na 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 na. Yes, I sing the European Union anthem even while being completely daft. I'm a good European. I'm a very good European, don't get me whacked, Klaus Schwab. Armor Padding isn't used for armor actually, but for the linen padding, which won't mess with our heavy armor perks, but will give us an extra item slot for enchantments. Lastly, in enchanting, of course, we go for the extra effect via armor and regalia enchanter. Weapon enchanter is not needed, since we use a pre-enchanted artifact. For the gear, we used Downguard Rune Hammer, Visage of Mzant, Warlock's Ring, Necklace of Amplified Destruction and Quake, Gauntlets of Fortify 2-handed and Grit, Armor of Fortify Stamina and Fortify Health, Boots of Fortify 2-handed and Fortify Stamina Regeneration, Padding of Area Drain Magic Resist and Reclaim Magicka. Visage of Mzund with only one Amplified Destruction item and no means of crafting incredibly overpowered Fortified Destruction potions is a suboptimal choice. Actually, really a roleplay choice. I'm being serious here, nevertheless. The Stave of Ferocity spell will apply 25% weakness to all magic, including the Steam Breath of the Visage, and the Area Drain Magic Resist will apply another 25 to all nearby enemies. And you can use the Breath to detonate your runes, so it will have a somewhat tactical use. The fire runes from the Rune Hammer will often get immediately detonated by the Force Wave of Augmented Parry, which is sometimes annoying but useful when the combat just started and the enemies are closing in. You can keep them staggered with the Force Wave and deal some damage with the rune with each bash. Grit, as mentioned, is vital due to your never-ending need for more and more stamina. With this enchantment, even if you spend all your stamina on your breath power, you can still power attack and paralyze and place your levitation runes. Speaking of runes and such, here's the list of spells. Symbolic Strikes is the one responsible for placing levitation runes with each power attack. It works with the Rune Master perk, meaning you can just place the rune wherever you need it with each attack. Other than that, you need Stave of Ferocity and Augmented Parry. Put it all in Okato's Recital and just never bother with spellcasting anymore, well, unless a fight goes for a really long time, then sometimes you may need to recast Augmented Parry or some such, but mostly you don't need that. And that's that. What I particularly like about this build is that it can get very tactical with some choices to make at the start of each combat. Do you want to go for crowd control? Do you want to deplete all your magicka at the start and then hope you will regain some by killing enemies and getting hit by spells and enchanted weapons? Do you want to soften everything with your Steam Breath, deplete your stamina and then start depleting magicka to let your stamina bar replenish? Do you want to just open with a solid charge and kill as much as you can before your stamina is gone and then switch to crowd control if needed? The crowd control of this one is rather powerful and without sacrificing any of the good, honest simplicity of a warrior combat style. It all just works, I told you. But for now I'm off to do, well, more builds, of course. I hope to make a Fallout 4 one soon and maybe some more Elden Ring builds. Obviously, it doesn't mean Skyrim builds will go anywhere, it just means variety. Anyhow, and be a good viewer, leave me a like and a comment and such. Consider supporting me on Subscribestar. I really can't do this without a lot of coffee, like a lot, galleons of coffee. Galleons? Gallons. Maybe galleons, actually. And have heaps of fun, guys. Come back for more and bye.
I cannot best you! No!